Hi, welcome back to Eat, Learn, Love. I just wanted to do a very quick video about homeschooling. I was talking with my husband just about all the different people that have reached out asking questions about what we use or how we do it or like the process. And so he told me maybe I should just do a general video and then I can share it if somebody has some questions. So I just wanted to give a few, I guess, introductory things about homeschool. I know there's a lot going on with different school districts right now and whether or not they'll go back in person or whether they're going to do e-learning or I don't even know what all the options are. I am not totally up to date even with our own local school district just because we just plan to keep homeschooling. We're starting our 10th year, I think. And so we just plan to keep going with that. But I just wanted to make a distinction about the difference between public schooling at home and homeschooling. So I know with all the stress and the challenges of deciding what to do this year, a lot of parents are thinking about spending a year at home or having their kids spend a year at home. So that just doing the 1 year and then returning the following year, I guess is what most people are saying. And again, I don't know the situation with each of your schools and whatnot, but if this is something you're thinking about, these are just some things to consider. So being home for just the 1 year and then going back next year, I wouldn't necessarily classify as homeschooling. Most that have reached out to me and asked about curriculum and whatnot are looking for something that the public schools will recognize for when they go back next year. Our family doesn't use anything that I'm overly concerned with the public school considering an accredited program or something that the credits would transfer from or that they would recognize. And I guess same with the Christian schools as well. I'm not concerned with whether or not they view the program or curriculum we use as something that would transfer should my kids ever go to school. Because we don't have that focus, I guess I've had to tailor my answers because I hadn't really considered that. If you are just doing 1 year at home, you may want to look into the free resource that your public school offers for a public school at home education. The two that I know of, I'm not very familiar with them, but one is K-12, and I believe it's a countrywide thing, and they have them tailored to your state's specific needs and regulations. And the other one is Connections Academy. I believe it's also nationwide, but again, I don't have a whole lot of information on that. However, if the concern is that you need to make sure credits transfer so that your child moves into the next appropriate grade next year, then maybe look into the free at-home resource, which is the public school education at home. I'm not knocking it. I'm not saying it's great. I don't have enough information. I'm just saying that is one option. The other option is to go ahead and do a homeschool curriculum or a homemade curriculum. Again, if you are concerned about credits transferring or how strict your school or state is, then maybe look into that some more. A really good resource is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. It's hslda.org. I'll link it below. But they offer all the information in regard to each state's requirements for homeschooling. Some states are very lax and do not require any type of notification or cooperation with the Department of Education. Our state is one of those. We are simply requested to keep attendance, which we do. Should we ever be asked for the information for who we are homeschooling or what we're using, I mean, I have all that information if it needed to be provided, but the only thing we are required to keep is attendance. We also have to perform the homeschool day in English, which for most of us, that probably is not an issue. And the other item, I believe, and maybe I'm thinking back to before we moved, but one of the other items was that we have to do the typical subjects that a school would do, which I don't know anybody that would not be covering those subjects. But anyways, so you need to decide, are you going to be doing public school at home so that credits can transfer, or are you genuinely looking into a homeschool curriculum? Public schooling at home, from my understanding, those online programs do require you to log in and be at the computer or doing the work for 6 hours a day. I think that was the number that I saw other people commenting about. The homeschooling curriculum or schooling at home, doing your own thing, the schedule really is up to you. and the amount of time that your child will need to complete the subjects probably would be nowhere near the amount of hours that you spend in class at a brick and mortar school. So I think someone posted something with the younger kids, kindergarten and first grade and whatnot, would be doing about 40 minutes a day, which is about how much my youngest child, who is 7, did last year, and he was in first grade. And then high schoolers doing a couple hours a day, maybe 2 to 4. Again, depends on your child, how quickly they catch on to concepts and understand things. Also depends on how motivated they are. But again, if you're looking to do your own thing, just know that you aren't going to be needing 6 hours a day for a child to complete the curriculum, because you have the one-on-one and you have all the options to tailor the education to their needs. The day will go much quicker. So I just have all these notes written down, and they are not in the best order, but I wanted to get my thoughts out just in case somebody would find this helpful and didn't want to bother with messaging me or texting, and just wanted all the information on hand. And I will link below to anything that I can think of or that I have a website for. So I mentioned K-12 and connections for public schooling at home. The other thing for specific homeschooling, you can choose from online programs, print, where you can buy the workbooks or print the sheets out. You can do co-ops where you work with other families to learn or teach specific subjects, and maybe meet once or twice a week, and then you're home for the rest of the time. You can do a combination of all those things. And then within all of those, you can have secular programs, you can have faith-based programs, you can have programs that are just math and science and maybe do your own thing for language arts. You can have some that are all-inclusive. There's just so many options, and because there are so many options, that is one of the main reasons I'm getting a lot of questions, is because there's so much to look through and think over. So I'm going to cover as quickly as possible each of these things, and I really hope it makes sense. So online programs, it's similar to what we use. We are using the Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool. It is a free faith-based curriculum online. You can print the worksheets that are needed. You can read everything online and only have to print the worksheets on days that a worksheet is required. You could also buy the workbooks or readers through Amazon for a nominal amount. I think it's like $5 for a workbook. Instead of printing each page as it comes. Last year we just printed pages as we needed them. It was no big deal. We do have the HP Instant Ink program, so we can print, I think, up to 300 pages a month for no extra cost. We just pay the monthly fee and they send us the ink as our printer tells them we are running low. So the online programs, some of them are completely online, no worksheets to print. Some of them, like the one we're using, are online, but you just print a worksheet every so often. Other ones available are printed programs, so workbooks, textbooks, that type of thing. Sorry, I have kids coming in and out of the house. So you can get ones that have workbooks and textbooks just as you would at school if that's what your child works well with. I have kids that work well with computer type programs, and also kids that work well with workbooks. I have kids that like to read all the information, kids that like to see the information displayed for them on the computer screen, and kids that, you know, are a mix of both those things. I have kids that need the hands-on in order to learn a concept. So really there's all these options because every child is so different. The other option is co-op. We have never been a part of one. I just haven't found one that would fit our family's needs, so I haven't been a part. Again, so many different options because there's so many different child and family needs, and you just have to decide what would work best with your schedule. If you are 2 full-time working parents, maybe a co-op or something very hands-on for the parent isn't what you're going to need. However, if you, mom or dad, are home with the kids, then maybe something a little more involved would be a better fit for your family, so that maybe you don't feel like you're always stuck at home. Coming from, you know, a school setting, a brick and mortar building setting, to being at home can be a little crazy since we've all been in quarantine. So maybe finding a co-op, a small co-op, that maybe that would be the best fit for your family. Again, just a lot to consider here. And then there's some that are combination ones where it's some online work, some workbook work. There are some that are DVDs or digital links to classes. There's some that you actually work with a teacher online. There's just so many options. So then figuring out what your family's needs and schedule are would narrow down what publishers you would look into. And you can easily search, free online homeschool curriculum, secular, or inexpensive homeschool workbooks, faith-based. Be specific in your searches. Again, speaking to secular and faith-based, if you come from a Christian background and you are looking to incorporate that Christian faith into your homeschool, be sure to look specifically for a faith-based curriculum. The one we use is a Christian homeschool curriculum. We learn creation. We do learn about evolution, but we learn the creation history, and it ties in the Bible with everything. And so that's something we appreciate because that is what our family is looking to use. If you're coming from a Christian school or a church school and now you're going to stay home for the year, maybe find a Christian curriculum so they can continue that Bible-based information, and so then there's not that gap or delay and you're a year without teaching the Bible to your kids, that kind of thing. Another note I have here is just a list of different Christian publishers we've used. Again, I mentioned we're using Easy Peasy All-in-One Homeschool, created by Lee Giles, and it is free. There is an option to give a donation amount. There is not a requirement to pay anything. The only things you would pay for is if you chose to purchase the workbook or readers for the kids through Amazon. Again, very inexpensive, or the cost to print the work pages at your own home or on your printer. Another one is called Ambleside Online. That is a literature-based program. We have used that in the past, and the thing I really liked about that, it was Charlotte Mason-based, and it had everything laid out for you, what you needed to do each week and what you should cover, and then you could take the weekly items and put them in the days that work best for you. It is very book heavy, so you will need to acquire or rent or find the Kindle version of these books in order to do the program. But again, it is free. You don't have to buy anything from them. They just tell you what literature you would be using, and you, like I said, library if you own the books, or you could buy the books, or you can even find the Kindle version. We did that for a couple years. I really enjoyed it. Another publisher is Abeka. That is a very popular Christian publisher that a lot of Christian schools use. We used them for a couple years when my oldest was young. We've done My Father's World, which is another Christian-based one. Bob Jones University, or Bob Jones Publishers, I don't even know what it's called, or BJU Press, Bob Jones University Press. They do a great Christian curriculum as well. Alpha Omega Publications, I think it's called Publications. We've used them. I know there's one called Gather Round, which is for families with more than one child, and they're like unit studies, and so everybody can be learning the same thing but at different levels. Another is The Good and the Beautiful. I have no experience with Gather Round or The Good and the Beautiful. I've just seen other moms using them, so I listed them. And those are all inclusive curriculum, so they cover all subjects. Some other ones we have used separately is Matthew C, which obviously is a math program. That is a workbook and test booklet that you get for the children. You can do the lessons online, or you can have they give you the CD as well. We have used it for several years. Sorry, now I'm talking fast. We've used it for several years, and I really like it. It has worked with all of my kids, so we are just going to continue with that. The Easy Peasy does offer math on their site, but we have opted out of that since we use the Matthew C. Other ones specific to subjects is All About Reading, All About Spelling. Those are obviously reading and spelling programs. And I'm sure there are others, and if I think of them, like I said, I'll link them below. But you just need to decide, is it easier for you to find something that's all-inclusive, and then your child can just have one publisher that they're working with and they can have all the information, or do you want to pick and choose from different things? Again, that goes even further back to, are we doing this for more years to come, or is this just this year to get us through because everything is so crazy and up in the air and we just don't know what's going on? So a lot of things to consider before you get to what publisher or curriculum you should use. The next item to share is about Facebook. This is what happens when you talk fast. Facebook homeschool groups. I can pretty much guarantee that wherever you live, there is a local homeschool group Facebook page. We have several in this area, not just our town or our region, but other towns. And if you can join there and chat with some of the other local parents, or just get ideas on curriculum or how your local district handles incoming homeschool students, things like that. Because every state is so specific on their rules and regulations, it is probably best to speak with someone in your area as to how to go about moving into homeschooling and then moving out of homeschooling if you plan to go back to the public school or your Christian school. So ask them, the transition, that kind of thing. They may be super helpful with knowing, do you need to test then after you've homeschooled, that kind of thing. I honestly have no idea. We've never done anything but homeschooling, so I can't advise. But I know that is a concern. Like, how do you transition back to the public school setting? Another thing is sports. If you are looking to do sports and your public school district does not allow you, there's probably a homeschool group that either does sports amongst themselves, or there's probably a Christian school that accepts homeschool players. So if you aren't able to get back into school, or you are opting not to go back to the physical building but would like your child to participate in sports, then I would say look into a local faith-based school, or see if on those homeschool Facebook pages, if anybody heads up a group of homeschoolers to play sports. I did mention that HSLDA, you can get a membership in case there's any issues. I know some states are very strict about what you can and cannot do and how you go about homeschooling. If there is a concern as to the legal ramifications of removing your child and homeschooling for a year and putting them back in, it may be worth it to you to go ahead and buy a membership. I think you can do month to month, yearly, or lifetime. And they would be there to defend you or to help you if there are any issues with the local school district or Department of Education. We do not have a membership with them. I have considered it before. It's just that we have only lived in states that are very relaxed with their homeschool laws, and so we have not felt the need to go ahead and retain them. But their site, if you don't get a membership, their site is super informative and helpful. I had a friend from out of state ask me a question, and I just went on their site and looked up that state-specific rules and regulations, and I was able to kind of point her in the right direction. The other thing I mentioned was accreditation. If you are concerned about being away for a year and going back and those credits being accepted or viewed as accredited, then maybe stick with a public schooling at home program. I believe they are all free because they're paid for with your tax dollars or through your public school. But again, you might just want to look into that if you are concerned about credits. If you plan to homeschool from here on out, then check into what your state's rules are for diploma or GED or that type of thing. I think that's all my notes. The only other thing that I've been asked about is socialization. And so I have 5 kids, and they are all very social people. If you've ever spoken with them, I have no qualms about having them in social settings. They do well with adults, children, and everything in between. I've never seen a need to intentionally socialize them. We do get a lot of socialization just on day-to-day stuff. Obviously, right now, we're all kind of keeping to ourselves, but I do have a large extended family. I am one of 8 children, so we have lots of cousins, and we see them pretty regularly, and so there is that type of socialization. Our church is back to meeting in person, and so we are able to talk to and see other people. Obviously, we're not as close and in each other's face, but we do have that option. And then, when things are normal or back to normal, my kids go out in public with me. We go to the post office, the library, the grocery store. We walk down to Walgreens when we need to. So I would not honestly put socialization as like one of the top things to be concerned about. There's enough going on right now to be concerned with that I don't think socializing there is no need to be concerned about it. Again, if you're only doing it for this year, your kids have already been home for 3-4 months without real great contact. You can do the electronic thing, Zoom or FaceTime or whatever. But again, I wouldn't stress too much on socialization. Even if you're going to continue to homeschool until they graduate, socialization is not a huge factor. Unless you're keeping them secluded in a basement somewhere, they're going to get the social experience. Other adults, whether you go to church or you go to different groups or, restaurants, grocery store. I mean, there's so many opportunities for children to speak with other people. I'm not even concerned with kids their own age so much, but just knowing how to speak to the public in general. I don't have a worry about that just because day-to-day life requires that from people. But again, if you are keeping them locked up in a basement, then you're probably not even watching this video. So those are my thoughts. Those are like just some basic things to consider as you're moving into this coming year. More than happy to talk with anybody that has any questions. You can message me on here. You can reach me through email if you have my phone number. I'm happy to talk with you as well. Homeschooling is like one of two things that I feel confident enough to speak about with other people and give my advice or things I have found helpful. Do I have tons of experience with a lot of curriculums? No, we've pretty much stuck to the two, whether it was Ambleside Online or this Easy Peasy. And for math curriculum, we really have stuck the longest with Math UC. So that's all I know. But as far as the idea of homeschooling or the routine with homeschooling, that kind of thing, I'm happy to do another video about that, how we schedule our day or, how I went about planning out each day. So if you want to see something like that, just let me know and I can definitely show you how I plan out our days using our online curriculum and also my planner, because I have 3 kids that still need my help with each of their things. My 2 older girls are pretty good and independent on their own. My 3rd, 4th, and 5th child still need a lot of one-on-one, and so I have to be able to divide my attention. My 2 older also report back to me on things, and I need to check their math work and answer any questions they might have. So I am homeschooling 5 kids, so I can give you an idea of how I schedule our days or how I go about making sure everybody gets everything done. So just let me know if you want to see something like that. If you have any specific homeschool questions, feel free to ask them below, or if you feel free to reach out to me in an email or direct message or whatever it's called here on YouTube. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you know of somebody that would appreciate some of this information, please feel free to share it. And also subscribe so you can get updates on my next videos. I am hoping to start a series on transitioning to a plant-based diet, but that's a totally different subject than homeschooling, so I won't get into it too much here. But as you move into this year, I just hope and pray that everybody that I can see and that I know and I have read comments on that are stressing out and feeling very overwhelmed about all this, I just hope that you just take a breather when you can. I know some of you are working still. You've been working even with your kids home and whatnot. And so I just pray that you find some time to relax and rest and just like set everything aside for a minute and chill, and that you have some clarity in what your family should do moving forward. So if there's anything I can do to help you or to like point you in the right direction, or even if I don't know the answer, I'm sure I know another blogger or YouTuber or Instagram person or website where you can find the answer, because I've had so many questions myself. So feel free to reach out if you need further help. And again, if you want to see more videos on how we structure our day, just let me know. I'm very happy to do that. So have a good week, everyone, and we'll see you soon.